This is Mr. Denis Lazavik, just 17 years old and already being given a 0% chance of winning elite level chess tournaments. What a prodigy, what an insult by chess.com. Did they have to eat their words? Well, no. He did finish dead last at the recent Champions Chess Tour finals, end of 2023, but it's not the end of the story. He went away, did his prep, shaking and baking, and now he's mixing it with the best of them in summer 2024. It's the weekly online blitz tournament, Tilted Tuesday here, and who does Denis get paired with? World number one, Magnus, son of Carl. Magnus with white, kicking off with pawn e4, Denis going e5. It's a no-nonsense, proper master chess game, and not only is this one exciting, but how it impacts the tournament standings is exciting in itself. Magnus goes with the knight here, pressuring the centre. Denis covers, both players making their best horsey noises as they develop those pieces. That's what the top grandmasters do. And now Magnus develops the bishop with a whoosh. Is he threatening to capture and win a pawn? Well, no. Black can always bring the queen out, win this pawn right back, but instead we see knight f6, the Berlin variation. Magnus covers the centre pawn, many options there for white, and now we see bishop c5. The bishop reaching the promised land, most natural square, but c3 from Magnus, fighting back immediately, looking for expansion. Both players castle, do a king safety wink, and now d5 for a high five, instant expansion. Magnus captures and queen recaptures, not knight, because you can't go knight c3 here, there's a pawn there, so bishop c4 instead. Magnus hitting the queen, looking around, poker face. Will D Laz see it? Yes, he does. Retreats back to the home square, but before he can do any more developing, Magnus kicks back the bishop. Now bishop b6 looks so natural and is very playable, but instead we see bishop d6. Bad bishops protect good pawns. We're not going to get caught up on subtleties. This is the way Denis went. Now knight b to d2. h6, either the move of a complete noob or a master player. We're probably looking at the latter in this instance, and after rook e1 pressuring the e-pawn, Denis does some defence, and now a4 from Magnus, ploughing down the board. Look at the squares, he's dominating on the queen side. So a6 keeps an eye on b5, also manages to complete this pincer movement with the pawns. Very nice. Queen b3 now from Magnus, sets up the battery, the f7 pawn as tender as a baby's bottom, so bishop e6 played, intercepting, and look at the symmetry between the minor pieces. You don't see that every day. Denis wins a cookie, and knight e4 now played, pressuring these two minor pieces. What to do? Well, you can capture in the center here, you can take on c4 immediately, many moves. We see bishop f8 retreating back, opening the eyes of the queen here on this pawn, and now Magnus makes a huge blunder. He plays the move of pawn to h3. Why is this so bad? Can you find the tactical shot for black? And just before we dive in, a big thank you to the sponsors of this video, Chestnut. I've talked many times in the past about the incredible Chestnut chessboards, and this Evo is no exception. It's a human-like, AI-powered chessboard in a league of its own. Its built-in, human-like neural network chess engine called Maya Chess, built by Microsoft, unlocks countless possibilities when playing and learning. For example, not only can you import historical games played by the great masters of the past, but then Chestnut Evo can quickly train AIs that match the chess style and skill level of these players, thereby making them your training partner. It also has an exceptional training mode for beginners, enabling continuous improvement by playing against AIs of different difficulty levels through various exciting challenge modes. The real-time analysis chart on the board, multicolor LEDs, and piece recognition technology create a seamless experience like no other. And this is is one of the coolest parts. Once you're ready to go online and find an opponent, Chestnut allows you to access your favourite platforms from its built-in app store and then play an opponent using your Evo. They've also got an open software ecosystem, so not only can you download your favourite apps from the built-in marketplace, but you can also develop your own apps using the Open SDK if you so wish. And last but not least, they've integrated with the LC0 platform, thereby allowing you to download the latest and most exciting chess engines. Do not hesitate to check out the link in the description below, because these things are selling like wildfire, and use code EPIC at checkout to get a great discount on your purchase. Now back to the chess. So Magnus has blundered with pawn h3. How can black punish this move? What's the tactical shot? How do you make the pieces work together? Well done if you found the move to play. It's queen takes on d3. Magnus so shocked he almost falls off his chair. Absolute thunderbolt, taking away a centre pawn here, and the point is, if you capture, then you lose your own queen, which now lacks a defender. Very nice. So what does Magnus do? He decides to take with a check. We see the g pawn recapturing, saddling Denis with those double f's. Now we get takes on e6, rook recaptures, and rook d1. Denis spots it, saves his queen. Knight h4, now the best move when you run it with the Silicon Overlord. g3 to come, then queen c2, try and dominate the light squares. But Magnus goes bishop e3, it gets a question mark. Why? Because you now walk into this steamroller. A pawn avalanche making its way down the board, the bishop in the firing line and the knight. Magnus tries to fight with pawn b5, the knight hits the rim. Queen now retreating, or is it? It's going forward. Centralized, a white widow spider. Pressure on Denis's position, but he now finds a great pawn push, putting pressure on the bishop. Bishop d2, the top choice of the engine here, but Magnus does not do it. Why not? Well, he's clearly afraid of e4, g3 to come. Huge mating pressure. Then the black pieces activate. So instead, Magnus says in for a penny, in for a pound, and crashes through on e5 with the knight, hitting the queen. Now you can take with the rook. Then after queen captures, take this bishop, have two minor pieces for the rooks, but Denis doesn't want it. He goes queen f5, still putting pressure on, still saying, okay, if you move that piece, I'm then taking your bishop. So Magnus goes bishop d4, but there's a problem. How do you actually save this knight if black attacks it again? There's a pin. The queen's now undefended. Many good moves for black, but c5 selected here by Denis. If you capture en passant, you'd love to play it, just to bellow it in your best French accent, but it's no good. Knight recaptures, intensifying the pressure in the centre. Bishop g7's coming, the rook can add the pressure, f6. So Magnus just plays queen f3. Take my bishop, I'll recapture with the pawn, I'm looking for tricks. But Denis is now a bishop to the good. Rook d8 centralising, rook ac1, we see captures on b5, bishop g7 played, and now Magnus Carlsen mixes it up by launching Gary the g-pawn down the board here. If you capture en passant, you lose the undefended queen. So Denis drops to the side here. Now we see rook c5, setting up the x-ray, so the bishop gives itself up. Forces a pawn recapture if you want to keep this rook on the board. But this set leave. Queen recaptures, and now how many of us are taking that pawn? Looks so natural, win it outright. This must be good. Centralize the queen. Well, no, there's a problem. Loose pieces drop off, often coincides with a loose king, unprotected. This would actually be a drawn position now. So not played. Denis spots it. He goes pawn b6, hits the rook, covers his knight. We see a check, king g7, queen d7. You couldn't make it to d8 without swapping the queens, but now after captures, Magnus hits the back rank. He's looking for checks. However, queen e1 check is landed first, driving the king up, and then brilliant move, pawn to f3 check. The way is shut. The king cannot get out. They are coming. King g3 played. Why didn't we see the pawn captured? Well, we're going to see why in a minute, because after check, we get a very similar line. The king driven up, now capturing the pawn, but this queen starts doing a devastation job. Still checking, now the rook joins the party, and after check here, we see resignation from Magnus Carlsen. Why? Well, if you step with king d3, then you can even go rook d6 check and win that queen. And if you step up the board, well, this is a sample mating line. You're just completely caught in the crosshairs here, getting hunted. This is actually a checkmate. The pawn supporting, the knight as well. Beautiful. Denis takes down Magnus, and that's not all. He actually goes on to win the late titled Tuesday at just 17 years old. What a player, what a prodigy. This kid is exciting. I hope you enjoyed. Smash subscribe if you did. And for another epic game of chess, check out the video on the screen. Thanks very much for watching, and see you soon.